Hi, everybody. Welcome to Northwestern University and welcome to the Northwestern University virtual tour. My name is Andrew. I'm going to be your remote tour guide today. Obviously, given the situation with the COVID-19 virus, we're unable to give you guys tours in person, but we're so excited for y'all to eventually come to campus. We'd love to have you and give you a tour, but this is what we got for right now. During the tour, we are going to practice social distancing, as you should at home. Please stay safe, everybody. So we're going to keep spaced out from everybody. I'm currently wearing a mask. I'm going to take this off in just a second, but if there's any large groups of people, I will put the mask back on. So now you guys get to see the rest of my face. A little bit about me. I am a fourth-year student. I actually just recently graduated this past winter quarter. I study physics and astronomy with a minor in Italian. I'm originally from Cherry Hill, New Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia. And one thing that I do when I'm not giving tours or in classes, I'm training for my third marathon currently. So with that, we're going to get the tour started, so come along, everybody. All right, so normally this is the part in the tour where I give some ground rules. First off, please ask questions. I love getting questions. It's actually one of my favorite parts of my job. I really do enjoy it. We will have an option for you to do remote questions where you can actually ask me, a real live human behind a computer screen, some questions. So check out the links for that as well. Normally also, this is the point where I tell you to please, if I'm about to fall into anything, run into anything, any oncoming traffic, please let me know throughout the tour. I really don't want to fall on my butt, but we have our lovely production team helping us out with that today. So they will let me know. So hopefully I don't fall on camera for the whole world to see. With that, everybody, welcome to Northwestern University. We were founded in 1851. Classes began in 1855. Right off the bat, you might ask yourself, what were you all doing during a 4-year period where there was a university, but there were no classes? It's a very good question. I do not know the answer. Nobody really knows the answer. We kind of refer to that as the dark ages of Northwestern. We're located in downtown Evanston, Illinois, right on the beautiful shores of Lake Michigan. We'll check out Lake Michigan a little bit later on in the tour. We're 2 miles from the city limits of Chicago and 12 miles from the Loop downtown. I'll talk a little bit about the city of Chicago, personally one of my favorite cities, a little bit later on in the tour. But with that, we're going to get started. First thing that I normally talk about on my tours is housing. You have a lot of options when it comes to housing as a first-year student at Northwestern. You can either live in a residence hall or residence college. It's a little bit of a difference between the two, I'll explain. Residence hall is what you think of like typical dormitory style living during your first year of college. There's a lot of options when it comes to that. You can either live in a single sex, same sex, gender neutral, co-ed, a lot of different options available for those. There's also residence colleges. What those are groups of students that are all interested in a certain area of study. So for example, on your right, we're now passing the International Studies Residential College. So if you are a quick thinker, you might venture to guess that all those students are interested in international studies. That is a really nice system because those students actually have a faculty live-in advisor that actually lives in the building with them. They'll put on programming, meet with the students, eat meals with them, just to make sure that they're really diving in a little bit deeper into that subject of study. Don't necessarily need to major in it, but you do have to have some demonstrated interest in the subject. You'll find that's kind of a theme at Northwestern, that even if you are majoring in something, you can be interested in something that is not really related to that major. One point of stress that I know people might worry about during their first year of college is roommates. You do have options when it comes to roommates as well. You can either have your roommate randomly assigned to you, as I did. I personally thought it was a good experience for me to learn to live with somebody who wasn't necessarily my best friend. And I actually learned a lot out of it. I was able to kind of figure out how to cohabitate with somebody, even if you aren't necessarily the best of friends. And I think that's a good life skill. You can also pick your roommate as well. There's a lot of technology out there to help you. There's apps. It's kind of like Tinder for first years. You can go on and say, hey, look at your profile. You look kind of cool. You know, do you want to live together for a year? You know how kids talk. There's also Facebook groups where people will go on and type up kind of what they're all about, what they like to do, and people will choose their roommates that way. Some of my friends, Henry and Parker, they actually chose each other to live with that way, and they're still really good friends to this day. So that's kind of the bit on housing. Right now, we are standing underneath the beautiful arch. This is the Weber Arch. This was donated to the university in the year 1993, so before any of you were born. And it's part of a campus tradition here at Northwestern called March Through the Arch. So we're actually going to practice right now. We're going to walk through the arch. So this happens during the first week of any student at Northwestern's career. That is an orientation period called Wildcat Welcome. During that period, students are put into groups with a peer advisor or PA. That's an older student that helps them really make them that transition into college, helps them acclimate to college life and learn what it's all about. So students during that week will actually march through the arch as we just did. And then 4 years later, when they graduate, they will march back out through the arch to signify the end of their time at Northwestern. As somebody who is supposed to march through the arch in a very short amount of time, like a couple of weeks, I'm a little nervous about it. Don't know if it's going to happen due to the COVID outbreak. Campus is currently closed, but I'm hoping eventually I will get to do it because it is a really nice signifier of your time at Northwestern coming to an end. I will say during that Wildcat Welcome orientation period, I think they have a lot of programming that really does help make that transition into college life a lot easier, at least for me. It was definitely a great period for me to get to know people. I came here, there was nobody from my high school that came to Northwestern. So for me, I had to kind of make a new friend group here. And I think that period, and especially my peer advisor, his name is Rohan, really great guy. Shout out Rohan if you're watching. I don't know why you'd be watching a Northwestern tour, you already went here. But he really helped me kind of acclimate to college. And it was a really good thing to have kind of that first friend, because your PA kind of serves as your big brother or sister during your first year on campus. All right, so that's a little bit about March Through the Arch, a campus tradition. Here behind me is another great campus tradition. This is the Rock. Really quickly about the Rock, this is a funny story. This actually used to be a fountain way back in the day. However, sometimes in Chicago, it's really nice weather today, but sometimes in the winter in Chicago, it tends to get a little bit cold. So this used to be a fountain, but one night the maintenance crew forgot to turn off the pipes. The pipes froze and burst. We were left with a big pile of like ice and rock and dirt and everything. And over time, it kind of conglomerated and congealed into what was known as the Rock. So in the 1950s, one night, a group of freshmen snuck out and they painted something on the Rock along the lines of "Freshmen rule, seniors drool." Now, I'd like to think that we're a little more creative nowadays here at Northwestern. So the seniors the next day rolled out of bed, saw that, were not too happy, and they actually made the freshmen scrub the Rock with their toothbrushes. Just a disclaimer, we do not do this anymore. You do not do this at Northwestern. That happened in the 50s. That does not happen anymore. If you paint the Rock, it stays painted until somebody else paints it. There's only 2 rules to guarding the Rock. 1, you must guard it for 24 hours before you paint it. And 2, you must guard it, you must paint it at night to honor those freshmen who snuck out so many years ago. Those are the only 2 rules. You can paint whatever you want on the Rock. There's some really creative stuff painted on the Rock. Sometimes I don't know exactly what's painted on it right now. Apparently Steve is 60, so happy birthday, Steve. But you can really paint whatever you want. Really is a testament to free speech. Sometimes student groups will advertise some of their activities or their events on it. We've had people asking other people out on dates on the Rock. We had a brave breakup on the Rock. We had a braver marriage proposal painted on the Rock. My favorite Rock story, just before we head out, is if you look on this building right here, this is University Hall. Look up the side of it, there's kind of a black wire. It might be hard to see with the camera, but that actually connects to a 24-hour live webcam. So anytime, day or night, you can Google Northwestern Rock Cam and you can see what's happening right here at Rock Plaza. If you go on right now, you might see me looking up and waving at the camera. And so a couple years ago, it was right around this time, Mother's Day was coming up. Get your mom's gifts. Don't forget, it's very easy now. Order a gift for your mom. And this one student by himself guarded the Rock for 24 hours and then painted on the Rock "Happy Mother's Day." And that was a great gift, not to his mom, but to every Northwestern student, because then they could go out and call their mom and say, "Hey, look at what I painted for you on the Rock for Mother's Day." So it's just an example of some of the many traditions that we have here at Northwestern on campus. And I think one of the things that really does make this community special. All right, with that, the next thing I'm going to talk about is food. It is kind of related to housing that I was talking about earlier. So one nice thing about dining halls here at Northwestern is that they are all connected to residential buildings. So chances are, if you're not living in a residential building with a dining hall attached, you're about a 50-foot walk from one, because all of the residential buildings are kind of grouped together and they're close to other residential buildings. So you can eat breakfast in your PJs. So all first-year students are placed on the unlimited meal plan here at Northwestern. That's exactly what it sounds like. So you actually get unlimited swipes into dining halls with your wild card. Where's my wild card? There's my wild card. That's what it looks like. That's your student ID. So that gives you access to a lot of different buildings on campus and a lot of different events, as you'll see later on in the tour. So that plan is really nice because you can swipe into a dining hall for dinner, and then another dining hall for second dinner, maybe a third dining hall for late night. There's a lot of different options. That's a really nice routine that I might have gotten myself into during my first 2 years when I was on that dining plan. In addition to the dining halls, I think they do a really good job of making accommodations for students. So if you have any dietary restrictions, they'll absolutely are more than happy to work with you to make sure that you're eating whatever you can and want to eat. Another nice thing is if you have a favorite recipe from home, this is kind of a little known trick here at Northwestern. If you have a favorite recipe from home, so for example, my mom makes really good mashed potatoes. That's like the one thing that she cooks really well. And if you bring that recipe to the chefs at the dining hall, they'll actually make it for the next day's meal. So that's really nice. If you're ever feeling homesick, you can bring them that recipe and get pretty much the closest thing to home cooking that you can think of. So I really like that. They do make sure that they make accommodations for students. In addition to the dining halls, we also have a food court area in our Norris building that we'll see a little bit later on in the tour. Then we also have 2 late night cafes on campus. So there are a lot of dining options on campus. Those cafes you can buy stuff there with your dining plan. Each quarter, you get a certain amount of points for your dining plan. So they might give you, say, 100 points and 1 point per dollar. And then you can go and spend that at like that food court in Norris or in those late night cafes. In addition to on-campus dining, there's also a ton of options off campus. I was literally just talking with my friends, my roommates, about this the other day. There are so many options in Evanston, so much good food that I really think you could live here for 4 years and not eat at every single restaurant. I've definitely found that to be the case. I still am hearing of new places like every other day that I'm like, oh, I should try that. And I go to Chipotle probably every 2 weeks. So I might need to spice up the routine a little bit, but a ton of options to eat in Evanston if you're ever feeling hungry. And of course, you got Chicago right in your backyard. So we definitely eat well here at Northwestern. And I would definitely say that the food on and off campus is really, really good. And I've always enjoyed eating it. All right, so that's kind of the deal on food. Now we're going to keep heading out, show everybody a little bit more of campus. So we were currently just in Rock Plaza. This building behind me right here, this is Kresge Centennial Hall. This is one of the hubs of Weinberg College. So Weinberg is our largest college for undergraduates. It's our College of Arts and Sciences. It houses about half of all students and about 100 different majors. It is my home school, so very near and dear to my heart. And one thing that Weinberg and other undergraduate colleges at Northwestern do really well that I really appreciate is how they attack kind of that general elective, how they attack those general elective courses that every student has to take. So instead of having all students take the same classes, so every first year student has to take Math 101, Chem 101, Philosophy, there's no core curriculum that every Northwestern student has to follow. Instead, we follow a distribution requirement system here at Northwestern. So what that is that there are different academic areas that students have to fulfill during their time at Northwestern. For Weinberg, for example, there's 6 areas. So one of them is literature and fine arts. Another is natural sciences. Another one is ethics and values. And there's a couple of different areas as well. And so instead of having all students take those same required classes, Northwestern will actually give you a list of classes that will satisfy that requirement area. And you can choose from the classes on that list. So it does give you a lot more options in whatever you want to study, even if you still have to fulfill those general elective requirements. So a good example of that, one of my best friends, Zach, he is a journalism major, and he's not a huge math guy. He took Calc BC in high school, got done with it, and said to himself, I don't want to do math again. So instead of taking like calc class or linear algebra class when he got to Northwestern, he actually took a music theory class, and that satisfied his formal studies distro requirement. So just an example of how you get a lot of agency with designing your own curriculum at Northwestern. You do really get a lot of choice in how and what you want to study. I will say for me, a good example of that is during my second year on campus, I actually took a Asian art history class that was really, really cool. Honestly, ended up being one of my favorite classes at Northwestern. I walked into the class, I didn't know how much I would like it, how much I would get out of it. Honestly, gave me a really great appreciation of art and art history. Wasn't a subject I knew a ton about, and I actually kind of learned how art historians think, how they kind of approach research problems. And one of the places that I did that was in this building behind me. So this is Deering Library. This is one of the oldest buildings on campus. This is where a lot of research happens for both classes and extracurricular research. I will say just a fun fact about this building. Their university archives are actually housed here. And there's a lot of cool stuff down there. For example, there's a stuffed wildcat. There's also the original lyrics team of the day, a very famous architect, once said that he thought this building was hideous. He didn't like it. It looked like an upturned pig on its back because of the long hall and the four spires that looked like legs. Ironically enough, his blueprints are now actually stored in the archives of this building. So karma kind of got Frank there. One last thing to note, this is the building that we often refer to as Hogwarts. And while a lot of schools claim they have a Hogwarts building, we are the only one that have a true Hogwarts building. So this building's architecture is based off King's College in London. That is the same college that J.K. Rowling modeled the Hogwarts castle after in Harry Potter. So when other schools say they have a Hogwarts building, they're lying to you. This is the real one right here. On that note, Deering is, like I mentioned, a place where a lot of research gets done on campus. And I will say that librarians are a really great resource for students. This is one of 3 libraries at Northwestern, and all of them are full of librarians who are willing and able to help you with whatever research problem you need. For that Asian art history class I was talking about a little bit earlier, I actually had to do a research paper in that class. I had no idea as a physics major how to write an art history paper. I had no clue. So I actually ended up going to a librarian for help on finding sources because I had no idea how to find sources for this. And within 5 minutes of searching, she found every source that I used in my paper and was super helpful about it, super knowledgeable, and really was there for me. And I think they're a really great resource, and students, when they're kind of completing those research assignments in class, really need to use that resource more. Like I mentioned, this is one of 3 libraries on campus. We'll see another one a little bit later on in the tour, our main library building. It's actually connected to Deering via tunnels, which is really nice as well. Okay, so since we're standing outside a library, it's kind of appropriate that I now talk about kind of the academic side of Northwestern, so everything related to kind of classes and professors. First thing, we are on the quarter system here at Northwestern. Some people also call this the trimester system, same thing. So there's 4 quarters in the year: spring, summer, winter, fall. Summer quarter is optional. You do not need to take classes during summer. You can if you'd like. About 10% of students do. Most students will go home, take an internship or a job, and work during the summer. Some will study abroad as well. That is an option. Don't need to take classes during summer. So that leaves 3 quarters during the academic years, fall, winter, spring. Each quarter is about 10 weeks long. At the end of those 10 weeks, there is a reading week period. So that is a period in which classes do not meet. That is for you to, in theory, study for finals the next week. One nice thing about the quarter system, this is kind of not really talked about, is our breaks are true breaks. So when we take finals, we go on a break, and then when we come back, a new quarter starts. So you're not worried about any assignments during that break. You get to go home or go wherever you're going and go relax, which is really nice. You don't have to stress about any papers or any extra assignments when you're on vacation. Another nice thing about the quarter system is the flexibility that it offers you. For me, myself, I think I'm definitely a testament to that. I would not have been able to minor in Italian. I would not have been able to study physics, go abroad, do all the things I've done had it not been for the quarter system and all the flexibility that it offers you. So typical undergraduate at Northwestern will take 4 classes per quarter. If you do the math, that's 12 classes a year with 3 quarters in the year. And if you do that for 4 years, that's 48 classes by the time you've graduated. So if you compare that with a semester style school, which would only have you taking about 40 classes in total, you're getting 8 more classes. So with that, you could be done an additional minor, halfway done a second major. There's a lot of options when it comes to that, and a lot of flexibility with those extra classes, so you have more room in your schedule to play around. That is, I think, one of the reasons that 7 out of 10 Northwestern students study more than one thing. So that could be 2 majors, a major and a minor, major and 2 minors. Sometimes you run into a rare triple major. I don't know how those people sleep. That just sounds like a lot of work to me. But you can do that at Northwestern, and that's in part because of the flexibility the quarter system offers you. Just a caveat to that, I will say that if you want to only study one thing, if you're really only into music theory or art history or one subject, that's totally okay too. I don't think there's any pressure at Northwestern. I've never felt any pressure to study more than one thing, or if you're not studying multiple things, then you're doing something wrong. There's absolutely no pressure the great thing I think about Northwestern is that you can study whatever you want to study. And if it's one thing, if it's multiple things, even if they're not related at all, that's a great thing. I mean, if you take me, for example, there's not a ton of physics majors and Italian minors walking around. There's two at Northwestern. It's me and another kid. And we've actually gotten to know each other pretty well because we're in mostly all the same classes. Speaking of that, another thing that's important during your class time is the professor. I will say that I really regret having been kind of at the end of my 4 years now. I really regret having not made more close relationships with some of my professors because they really are great people and they're there to help you. They're there to help you learn. They want to help you learn, but you also have to put that effort in too. So I wish one of my biggest regrets in college is not going in to talk to professors more. One great thing about Northwestern is that all the professors are required to have at least 2 office hours per week. So that is a great time. If you have any questions, if you're not understanding something from lecture, you can go in and get help with the professor. Good one-on-one time. And I would definitely recommend more students go and take advantage of those office hours. It also sometimes is just nice to go and kind of just talk to your professor and chat with them and learn more about them, have them learn more about you. I remember during my first year, I was taking kind of the intro physics course. And so that was a bigger class. It was about 100, a little over 100 people. It was really nice because during the first or second week, I actually went into office hours because I was forgetting something about Coulomb's law, E&M, and I talked to the professor a little bit and just kind of chatted a little bit, got to know each other a little bit, and just basic small talk. And then the next week, I walked into class, and out of a room of like 100 people, he pointed at me, he's like, "Hey, how was your weekend, Andrew?" And the fact that he just remembered my name was really nice. That's as a kind of a first year student, that was kind of a big deal for me because I didn't expect the professor to remember my name, but also kind of remember that they had that interaction. It does kind of build a meaningful relationship, and I definitely think more students should use those office hours as well. So definitely go to office hours. One note, I mentioned that class was a bigger class. That is one of the few large classes, kind of lecture hall style classes that I've taken at Northwestern. Only 2% of classes at Northwestern are above 100 students in enrollment. And any class that's over 40 students in enrollment automatically meets with a discussion section each week. So that's an extra period in which you meet. Sometimes it's led by a TA, sometimes it's led by a professor, it depends, but professors teach all lectures. The only time you'll interact with a TA is during that kind of discussion section period, or if you go to the TA's office hours, which are also a good resource as well. So you can definitely use those in addition to your professor's office hours. I will say professors are definitely also very flexible in giving you help. So if you can't meet with them, if their time that they've set up doesn't work for you, every professor I've ever had has always said at the beginning of the classes, if you need to schedule an appointment, please just email me. I'm more than happy to set up a time that works with you. So I really think that is a testament to the professors at Northwestern, the faculty that we have here. They are committed to helping you learn, and they want to help you learn as long as you put in that effort yourself as well. Back to class sizes, I will definitely say that the class size drops off dramatically once you get past kind of those intro level classes at Northwestern. And even some of those intro classes aren't that big depending on the subject. So for physics, for chem, kind of some of your more general majors, econ is another one. The first class is kind of those introductory ones. Those can be a little bit larger, but then once you get past those into kind of the 200 and 300 level classes, the class size drops dramatically. For example, last year I had two classes. They were both Italian classes that had respectively 3 and 4 students each. So we got to know each other very well. And I think those were really great classes because I got to know my professor very well, got to know my classmates very well as well. And I was somebody who coming into college didn't really care about class size, but ended up really becoming important to me and something that I wanted to learn more about. All right, that's all that we have kind of on the academic side of things. So we're going to keep walking, keep it going, try and get our steps in. A little fun fact, fun tidbit. If you look to your left here, this is Deering Meadow. This is one of the prettier spots on campus. I don't think it's the prettiest, but I think it's top 5. So this actually used to be our football stadium way, way back in the day. Our current stadium is located about a mile off campus, Ryan Field. That's at our athletic complex. But this used to be the whole shebang. And I don't know how it exactly worked. Looked a little short, in my opinion, to be a football stadium. But one fun fact about how we got our name, the Wildcats. So we actually originally were founded by a group of Methodists. So we took the nickname the Fighting Methodists for all our sports teams back in the 1800s. And then one day in like the late 1890s, we were playing Illinois and apparently kicking their butts. And a journalist was watching the game and wrote that we didn't look like Methodists out there. We looked like a bunch of fighting purple Wildcats. We thought to ourselves, hey, that sounds like a lot better of a name than the Fighting Methodists. So that name stuck, and we ended up going with that. And that is how we actually got our nickname, the Wildcats. A little fun fact, a little fun story there. If you look around, if you look behind me, it might be a little bit further down the path. There's a blue light on top of a black pole. We'll see it a little bit more close up as we get down there. That is one measure that Northwestern takes to keep its students safe. So these blue lights, there's buttons on them. If you go up to them, if you're ever feeling unsafe, you can go up, press the button, and Northwestern University Police will arrive within 60 seconds. I will say, whenever you come to campus for a real tour, and I really hope it's soon, I really want to meet all of you, please do not test the buttons. This has happened before on one of my tours. A mom didn't believe me when I told them that the police will arrive within 60 seconds. Went up, pushed the button, police arrived, $500 fines. Please do not test them, they work. These are located throughout campus and downtown Evanston. Saying kind of goes that if you look 360 degrees around you, you should be able to see at least one blue light whenever you're in downtown Evanston or on campus. Another safety measure, and this is probably my favorite, is Safe Ride. Safe Ride is basically free Uber for Northwestern students. So you can download an app, and anytime between, I think, the hours of 7 and 3 a.m., you can call a car to come pick you up anywhere on campus or up to a mile off campus and take you wherever you need to go. Really nice app. Sometimes if you just want to not walk home from the library where it's cold out, you can call Safe Ride. They'll come pick you up and get you where you need to go. So really do like that system as well. And I think personally, I've always felt safe in Evanston and on campus. Given who I am, though, I know that that can, kind of weigh a little bit less. But I would definitely say Northwestern does take safety seriously and does try and keep its students as safe as possible and has taken the measures to do that. All right. Up next, so we're currently passing on your right Annenberg Hall. This is home to SESP, the School of Education and Social Policy. It's another one of our undergraduate schools. It's actually our smallest undergraduate school, only houses about 100 students, but it is our also most transferred into school. So generally they'll take in about 40 students during the first year, and then by the end, so many students have transferred in, they'll graduate about 100 students. So it definitely is the most transferred into school. And a lot of people get here and realize that some of the things they want to study are housed under SESP as well. One nice thing about SESP is how they approach applied learning. So that's taking something you've learned in the classroom and applying it externally to kind of a real world problem, quote unquote. I would definitely say that there's other programs like it as well. It's called the SESP Practicum. So that is a quarter-long internship in which a student is paired with a firm in the Chicago area. They'll go and work for that firm for a quarter. Really great way to get hands-on experience for SESP students as well. Medill has a similar program called Journalism Residency, or JR, where students work for a publication. There's also a Chicago Field Studies program that matches students with firms in the area as well. Another note on applied learning, you take a gander to your left. That is Dearborn Observatory. So that is a building which is very near and dear my heart as an astro student. Houses what used to be the world's largest telescope as of like 1850. There's a really funny story of how it ended up in our hands. It involves the Civil War, the University of Mississippi, and some lens makers in Boston. It's really cool history. If we have time later on, maybe I can tell it. But that is the building where I spent a lot of my time the past couple of years. I worked there past 2 summers working on research. So this is kind of when I talk about research on campus. I will say there are a ton of opportunities to get involved with research at Northwestern. It's very easy. There's a ton of funding. We offer about $3.5 million a year to undergraduate research. That is for undergraduate projects. It's not for faculty. It's not for graduate students. That is for undergrads and undergrads alone. So we're going to take a pause. Just as an aside real quick, if you look around, this is currently the back of the Technological Institute. This building is huge. This building extends all the way down to Sheridan Road on the other side. It's the second largest building in the country of low-rise buildings in terms of floor space. If anybody can guess the first, I'd be very, very impressed. Please let me know either via comment or email. I'd be very impressed if you guessed right. So this is the Technological Institute, or Tech as we refer to it lovingly. This houses our McCormick School of Engineering, as well as some of the hard science departments of Weinberg. Physics department is housed in this building, so very near and dear to my heart as well. But anyway, a lot of research that I was talking about does get done in this building as well. There's also an office for undergraduate research here at Northwestern. That's there to help students get funding for their research, and also help them find mentors. I wish I had known about them during my first year on campus. Would have been a lot more helpful. I got involved with research personally, and you can do this as well. There's probably more effective ways, but you can do this. Is I just cold emailed professors and asked, "Hey, I'm really interested in your work. Can I come in and meet with you and talk to you about it a little bit?" And all of them responded. All of them set up meetings with me, and one of them was foolish enough to hire me. And so I worked with him for 2 years, and then I ended up switching projects, switching research groups a little bit later on. And my current project is actually what I'm currently working on for my thesis. That is it's a project based on binary stars. And there's a new telescope being built in Chile that is going to serve as basically the world's largest digital camera. The mirror on this telescope is like 28 feet across. It's huge, big old mirror. And it's going to look up, take a picture of the sky. It'll move to another portion of the sky, take a picture, and every 3 nights, we'll have covered the entire night sky in Chile. So it's a really cool piece of technology. And my job is basically to figure out how many binary stars can we see with this telescope. So it's been an awesome project. I've really loved working on it. I've gotten to go and present my findings at some cool conferences. I got to go to Hawaii in January because of it. Really has been an awesome experience for me, and I've learned just a ton of good skills. I learned how to code because of this project as well. Something that I've really enjoyed, and I wouldn't have had that opportunity had it not been for kind of the culture of undergraduate research here at Northwestern. I always recommend more people get involved with it. If you're interested in something non-STEM related, totally okay. There's a ton of projects and a ton of funding available for that as well. For example, my good friend Jenny, 2 summers ago, she got a grant to go to Germany, and her project was on millennial culture in music festivals. Exactly what it sounds like. She got paid for a whole summer to go to concerts. I think I need to get into that line of work. That sounds like a lot of fun. But research is definitely, I think, something that can really enrich an undergraduate's time at Northwestern. Like I said, a lot of opportunities, a lot of resources to help you get funding and find advisors as well. All right, and if you look behind you, we just passed through the research quad. So these buildings right here are all kind of tied to our nanotech or our biology departments as well. This is Silverman Hall, this big kind of glass facade. And so that little stretch of land right there is called the research quad, very fittingly. So that's why I talk about research on the research quad. Everything has a purpose on the tour. Okay. So a little bit of a story time now. If we were standing where we're currently standing about 50 years ago, we would be 30 feet deep in Lake Michigan. This land actually did not always used to be here. Why is it here, you might ask? Was it there like a geological disaster that just produced a bunch of land? No. Back in the day, Northwestern was expanding their campus, and they went to the township of Evanston and said, "Hey, we'd like to grow our campus. We'd like to expand. Is there any way we can get more land?" And Evanston said, "Oh, that's great. We're really happy for you. You can expand. You just can't go that way, or that way." Given that the only thing that way was a bunch of lake, didn't have a ton of options. But being the creative problem solvers that we are here at Northwestern, we took a bunch of limestone and sand from the Indiana dunes and filled in the lake. So that is why, if you look across this little pond right here, that green stretch of land over there is called the lake fill. This little body of water, this is not Lake Michigan. Don't let people lie to you and tell you that it is. This is fake Michigan, as we call it in the tour guiding office, and nobody else calls it that. Lake fill is a really great stretch of land. I normally do my runs out there. Really beautiful, great views of Chicago, great views of the lake as well. Like every green space on campus, it is enabled with campus Wi-Fi. So you can still go out there, take your laptop, do some work, or pretend to do some work as I normally do. Normally I'll just sit out there with my laptop and look like I'm being productive, but I'm not. Also a really good place to see a dog on campus. When it's nice weather like today, you'll see a ton of people out there as well. Right now they're social distancing, as you all should be. Stay safe, everybody. But the Lakeville is home to, I think, one of our best traditions on campus, and that is Armadillo Day, or Dillo Day for short. That is the largest student-produced music festival in the country. We've had headliners in the past, such as Joey Badass, Chance the Rapper, A$AP Ferg, Kanye West, Kendrick Lamar, Odessa, a lot of big names. Last year, it was A$AP Ferg and Dea were the headliners. Really great concert. I think Mayfest, which is the student group that puts on Dillo Day, does a really good job of putting on the event and making sure that you're getting good up-and-coming artists. Really fun day. Happens at the end of spring quarter every year. So Armadillo Day is coming up. However, it's going to be virtual this year. It really is a fun time. You get to go out and enjoy yourself on the Lakeville. Our president has said that he doesn't want to see a single student studying on Dillo Day. So we literally lock down the libraries. Students are not permitted to enter. You have to, they want to make sure that everybody's getting out to the Lakeville, having a little bit of fun. So really nice views and really a great time as well. Alrighty. So, there's trees blocking our way. However, in a second, we're going to pan and look across the water to a couple of goalposts and some athletic fields. So that is Martin Stadium and Lakeside Field. That is where our women's soccer, men's soccer, and women's field hockey and lacrosse teams all practice and play their games. So a little bit about athletics on campus. We offer 19 different varsity sports here at Northwestern. We are a member of the Big Ten Conference. One of the nice things I will say about, almost ran into a pole. One of the nice things about Northwestern athletics is that all athletic games are free for Northwestern students with their wild card upon entry. Our women's basketball team had a really, really good season this year. They were ranked top 15, I believe. They were absolutely killing it. And our women's lacrosse team has definitely been our crown jewel of our athletic programs as well. If you're still interested in playing sports, but maybe you don't want the time commitment of varsity sport, club sport might be a good idea for you. So club sports will typically practice or play. It doesn't conflict with class schedules. So that's really nice. You can still play at a high level. The competition level is generally compared to kind of a varsity sport in high school, maintaining a lower time commitment. If that doesn't sound like your speed, maybe you just want to play and have fun, intramurals or IM sports might be a good option for you. Intramurals are offered throughout the year. There's a ton of different sports offered. So everything from football, soccer, basketball, all the way down to ultimate frisbee. There's a ton of different options. There's also different competition levels within intramural sports. So it's really funny. Sometimes for like IM basketball, for example, you'll have people who have like in the same league that have like, different leagues that have like never touched a basketball for, all the way to like people who think they're like going to get drafted to the NBA out of IM. So you have a lot of different options with that as well. Those are just a really good way to kind of blow off some steam, have a little bit of fun with your friends, get outside and stay active. All right. I'm going to take a pause real quick because I'm out of breath because we just walked up a big hill. But this is Norris University Center. So this is kind of the hub for all things student organizations and student activities on campus. And so I've actually gotten to call Northwestern athletic events on the radio. Really love this club. Has definitely been something that I didn't know I was interested in coming out of high school, but it ended up being one of my favorite things. I've gotten to travel to some really cool places in this for this club to call games, and I've gotten to learn a lot. And it was kind of perfect because coming out of coming out of high school, I knew I liked sports, and I also like to talk, so it was kind of perfect that I would do student radio or student sports radio. I would definitely recommend during your time at Northwestern, try and get involved with something that maybe you don't think you would like or that you would be interested in. You might find that you really are interested in and might have a passion for it. With me, I got involved with this club because my friend Zach, he's also involved with it. And one day he was all dressed up. He was wearing like a shirt and tie. And I was like, do you have like a date or something? Like, why are you all dressed up? And he was like, no, I'm calling the women's volleyball game tonight. And I was really confused. I was like, you can do that? And he was like, yeah, it's the club I'm in. It's WNUR Sports. And I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. Can I get involved? And he was like, yeah, you just got to come to some meetings. So I ended up going to a couple meetings, kept going to meetings, and eventually signed up for a game. And my first game, I remember it was men's basketball versus Illinois at home. We lost because their big hit a 3 in the corner, but I'm over it. It's fine. But anyway, I remember my broadcast partner was like the senior, and he was really good. He was like, he does it now for like a minor league baseball team. He was really, really good. And I remember I was awful. I was so bad. I was stuttering. I was just like, couldn't get the words out fast enough. I sounded stupid. And we got off the air. The game got done. And I turned to my partner. I was like, I was really bad. He was like, no, you weren't. He was trying to be nice. And I was like, oh, no, I was really bad. And he was like, no, you were fine. And I just remember thinking I was terrible, but I wanted to do that again. And I think that was kind of how I found that passion for sports broadcasting and how I got involved and more involved with that club. So definitely would recommend getting involved with things. I'm going to walk forwards now because I don't want to trip up the stairs. But definitely would recommend getting involved with things that you might not know that you're interested in. Alrighty. So behind me, this is Pick Stager Concert Hall. This is definitely one of the prettier concert venues in the Midwest. When a lot of those student groups that I talked about have guest speakers come to campus, they'll have them speak in Pick Stager. So we've had speakers in the past such as Pete Davidson, Yo-Yo Ma, Nick Offerman. Another one people might know is former Illinois Senator Barack Obama. He's spoken there as well. So there have definitely been some really cool speakers that have come through. On your right, this is the Block Museum of Art. This is, in my opinion, one of the hidden gems on campus. This is a student-run art museum. So they have a lot of students help curate the actual exhibits that go on at the block. They rotate their exhibits quarterly, so there's always something new, something fresh going on at the block. I would definitely recommend it. It is free and open to the public. Right now, it is shut down due to the COVID virus, but when it is open, it is free and open to the public. So I definitely would recommend going and checking that out when you get a chance to come visit campus. On your right behind that is the Wirt Center for the Performing Arts. So there's a ton of really cool resources for School of Communication students in that building. It also is kind of one of the hubs of our theater department here on campus. So there's a lot of options when it comes to theater productions and student productions. There's over 80 per year. So there's a lot of different ways to get involved with student theater. One nice thing about that is you do not need to be a theater major necessarily to get involved with theater productions, either acting or on the production side. You just have to have a passion for theater, know something about it, and be able to audition. But some cool shows that happen every year is one of them, which is the Dolphin Show. That is the largest student-produced musical in the country. There's also the WNUR Show. That's another show in which students actually write a new musical from scratch every year. I don't know how they do that. That sounds really tiring, but they do it every year. They always do a really good job with it. So those are just two that you can get involved with of the many, many theater shows that go on campus. Look behind me, this very beautiful building. This is the Ryan Center for the Musical Arts. This houses our Beanin School of Music. So one nice thing about the Beanin School is they offer a dual degree program. So with that, you're actually getting two separate bachelor's degrees. Generally, it's structured as a 5-year program. Some people are able to do it in 4, but the general curriculum lays out 5 years. That's really nice. So instead of a traditional double major, combination between schools for those bachelors is Beanin and our McCormick School of Engineering. So go figure on that one. But there's a lot of ways to get involved with student music outside of Beanin as well. There's a ton of student music groups, garage bands, student symphonies, and orchestras as well. And there's also, if you're into singing, there are 15 different student a cappella groups on campus. If you've seen Pitch Perfect, the producers of that movie actually went to Northwestern and modeled the a cappella scene of the college of Northwestern's a cappella scene. There's a little bit of construction behind us. We're going to take a quick run past that. But like I was saying, there's a ton of ways to get involved with music. Like before, you don't necessarily need to be a music major to get involved. You just have to have a passion for music and be able to do that as well. Alrighty. All right. Sorry, I'm just trying to find a vantage point for us to get a nice view. Okay, so last thing I'm going to talk about as we're kind of heading back to the visitor center is the city of Chicago. So we're going to get a nice, really nice view of it in the lake right now. So I am originally from a suburb of Philadelphia. I like Philly, but I really do love living in the Chicagoland area. It's been a really great time for me, and it's a really great city to go out and explore. One of the cool things about Northwestern and how they interact with the city is, like I mentioned that program earlier, Chicago Field Studies. So that's actually very similar to the Practicum or the JR. That's a program in which students will go and work for a company in the Chicagoland area for about a quarter. My good friend Henry, he actually worked for a sports analytics company during his CFS, as it's called. And then he actually worked there again during the following summer. But there are a ton of options with that CFS program, and it does a really good job of getting students kind of that real world hands-on experience. So I would definitely recommend that. It's great. Another example of applied learning. There's a lot of ways to get into the city. In addition to our inter-campus shuttle, so that's a bus service that runs from our Evanston campus to our downtown Chicago campus, which houses our medical school and our law school. That inter-campus shuttle is free for Northwesterns with your wild card. There's also several train systems as well to get into the city. You can hop on the L or elevated train system. That is public transit. You can take that. It's about like $2 to ride. You can take that, and we have a little bit of construction going on. You can take that train to wherever you need to go in the city. Just hop on the Purple Line. There's also the metro system as well. That's a really nice train system. Gets you into the city a little bit faster. Slightly more expensive than the Purple Line, but definitely a good option as well if you need to get into Chicago quickly. So those are some ways to get into the city. And then once you're in the city, there's a ton of things to do. As Northwestern students, we get free access to a lot of museums, including the Art Institute of Chicago. Definitely recommend taking yourself up on that several times when you're at Northwestern. And there's also a ton of great restaurants, bars, theater shows. Second City would definitely recommend. So for me personally, my Why North, for those of you who don't know, we do this because there's a 250-word essay on the Common App entitled Why Northwestern. Basically asks, why do you want to go here? And us tour guides were a nostalgic bunch, so we like to end with our Why Northwestern. My Why Northwestern actually started on the campus of the University of Maryland. So my brother is 4 years older than me, and he was kind of going through the college search process and trying to figure out what he wanted out of a college. And he would visit different schools, and he would notice different things he liked about each school. He would say, oh, I liked kind of the campus at this one school. I liked the academic programs at this other school. And I kind of liked just the culture and student body at this third school. But none of them kind of put that all together. And the last school he visited was the University of Maryland. And that was just the right fit for him. And as soon as he stepped on campus, he knew. And I remember we were driving back in the car. My mom nudged me and said, it's the only school he bought a t-shirt from. That's where he's going. And I was just really confused. I was like, Mom, that is just it's not a good criteria. Lo and behold, my mom was right, as she often is. And that's actually where he ended up applying and going for 4 years, and he loved it. And so fast forward to kind of my junior, senior year of high school, I was figuring out kind of the same thing. I was trying to figure out what I wanted out of college. I'm different than my brother. I wanted different things. One of the things that was really important to me was in high school, I had a lot of really good teachers. And a lot of my teachers kind of made me realize that I liked a lot of different subjects. I had a Gov teacher during my senior year that was incredible. And I had an AP US history teacher that really changed my life, like made me really like history and realize that I had a love for the subject. Still to this day, history might be one of my favorite subjects. And so I was interested in a lot of different things coming into college, and I didn't know what I wanted to pick for my major. And I remember when I was visiting here, I talked to an admissions counselor, and I was asking him, hey, like, I'm just interested in a lot of different things, and I don't know how to narrow it down. And he said to me, don't narrow it down. I think that really encapsulates what Northwestern's all about, is that if you're interested in one thing, if you're interested in multiple things, that's great. Even if they're totally on the opposite end of the spectrum, you are not only allowed to pursue those passions, you're actually encouraged to. I think that interdisciplinary approach is really something that sets Northwestern apart. It's not just why I came here, but it's also why I stayed at Northwestern. And it's the only school that I bought a t-shirt from. So thank you guys so much for coming on the tour. Go Cats. Please stay safe, stay inside at home during these times. And please be sure to visit us when you get a chance, when campus opens back up and when kind of the world goes back to normal. But thank you guys so much for coming on the virtual tour.